You think no one supporting you is why you are not a millionaire yet. It is not. No support only exposes the real problem. You are still waiting to be believed before you build the evidence. Your family does not respect a future they cannot measure. Your friends do not invest in ambition they cannot verify. The market does not pay for pain, potential, or private hunger. It pays for proof. And until you understand that, you will keep explaining your vision to people who have no incentive to believe it. But the trap is not becoming cold, bitter, and isolated. Isolation without output is just decay with a serious face. The unsupported man wins differently. He builds one skill, turns it into measurable proof, turns proof into income, turns income into surplus, and turns surplus into ownership. Stop asking people to believe in your future. Build so much proof that belief becomes irrelevant. But here is the question most men never ask. Why do people start believing only after you no longer need their belief? Why does the family that doubts you suddenly become proud when strangers respect you? Why do friends ignore your ambition when it is private, but admire it when it becomes visible? Why does the market ignore your pain, but reward your proof? The answer is brutal, but it will save years of your life. People do not respond to the man you claim to be. They respond to the evidence you make impossible to ignore. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago. In The Prince, he wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few really know what you are." That is not just political advice. That is financial reality. People do not judge the hidden man inside you. They judge the visible evidence outside you. They judge what your actions have produced. They judge what your name is attached to. They judge what strangers already trust. They judge whether your value has a signal, a receipt, a result, a pattern, a visible consequence. This is why your private hunger means nothing until it becomes public proof. You can be ambitious in silence. You can suffer in silence. You can stay awake at night imagining the man you are going to become. You can feel different from everyone around you. You can know deep inside that your current life is too small for you. But the world does not pay for what you know privately. The world pays for what you can demonstrate publicly. Look at John Koum, the co-founder of WhatsApp. His family came to America from Ukraine when he was 16. WIRED reported that his family once collected food stamps near the same Mountain View area where WhatsApp would later have its office. Years later, Facebook bought WhatsApp for $19 billion. Do not romanticize the poverty. Poverty did not make him powerful by itself. Many men are poor and remain poor. Many men suffer and become bitter. Many men are ignored and use that rejection as an excuse to shrink. His pressure was survival. His action was learning technology. His proof was not a speech to his family. His proof was not a motivational post. His proof was users, real adoption, real market behavior. People did not have to believe in his pain. They could see the product. That is the first law. Pain becomes power only when it is converted into skill, proof, ownership, and leverage. Now take Sarah Blakely. Before Spanx, she sold fax machines door to door. She had no business degree, no fashion background, and launched the company with $5,000 in savings. Stanford Graduate School of Business notes that she took no outside investment and kept putting money back into the business. Her pressure was obscurity. Her action was solving a real problem and selling it herself. Her first proof was not approval from experts. It was customers buying. That matters. Because when customers buy, the debate changes. When users arrive, the debate changes. When revenue appears, the debate changes. When your skill creates a result for another person, the debate changes. You do not need every gatekeeper to understand you when the market starts answering. The unsupported man must understand this early. No one is obligated to believe in a version of you that has not produced evidence. That sentence may offend the weaker part of you. Good. Let it offend the part that still wants emotional credit for imaginary results. Because if you do not understand this, you lose more than money. You lose time defending a dream instead of building it. You lose status because people keep seeing the same old version of you. You lose self-trust because every announcement becomes another unpaid debt to yourself. You lose leverage because a man with no savings, no assets, no rare skill, and no visible proof is easy to ignore. And worst of all, you lose freedom. Without financial leverage, your choices are not really choices. They are negotiations from weakness. You stay in the job you hate because you cannot afford to leave. You tolerate disrespect because you have no alternative. You chase approval because you have no evidence. You explain because you cannot demonstrate. That is the humiliation most men never name. They are not only broke, they are dependent on belief. A man dependent on belief has to keep persuading people who are not invested in his rise. He has to keep explaining why he is different. He has to keep announcing the future because the present does not yet defend him. He has to borrow confidence from the reactions of people who may not even understand the game he is playing. That is not ambition. That is emotional debt. Machiavelli wrote that it is much safer to be feared than loved when one cannot be both. Do not misunderstand this. In this context, it does not mean becoming cruel. It does not mean becoming abusive. It does not mean turning into a bitter man who mistakes emotional numbness for strength. It means building enough power that people cannot casually dismiss you. Love is optional. Respect is structural. A man with no proof begs to be loved. A man with proof becomes difficult to ignore. And the market is colder than your family. Your family may comfort your weakness. The market will price it. Your friends may tell you that one day you will make it. The market will ask what you can do today. Your relatives may say you have potential. The market will ask who has already paid for that potential. Your own mind may create heroic stories about your future. The market will ask for receipts. This is why unsupported men must become more precise than supported men. A supported man can fail loudly and still have a flaw beneath him. He may have family money, connections, a safety net, a name, a room he can enter because someone else opened the door. He can waste time and recover. He can make a foolish move and still land somewhere soft. But the unsupported man cannot afford romantic thinking. He cannot afford fake confidence. He cannot afford to look rich before he becomes free. He cannot afford to confuse attention with leverage. He cannot afford to confuse isolation with strategy. And this is where the contradiction begins. Most unsupported men say they want freedom, but their behavior says they want permission. They tell people their plans too early. They explain their ambition to people who have never built anything. They confuse talking with progress. They consume content about money, but never build a trackable financial system. They want millionaire results, but still live like men waiting for emotional confirmation. They want the respect of a man with evidence, while still behaving like a man begging to be understood. And because no one claps, they drift. They call it isolation. But it is not isolation. It is unstructured time. Real isolation sharpens a man. Fake isolation makes him bitter. Real isolation produces skill. Fake isolation produces theories. Real isolation creates assets. Fake isolation creates resentment. Real isolation makes a man more useful, more dangerous, more calm, more difficult to replace. Fake isolation makes him colder in public and weaker in private. This is the trap. Being alone does not make you powerful. Producing while alone does. If you are alone and building nothing, you are not becoming mysterious. You are disappearing. If you are alone and learning nothing, you are not protecting your energy. You are wasting your advantage. If you are alone and stacking no proof, you are not misunderstood. You are undocumented. That word matters. Undocumented, not as a legal status, as a strategic condition. Your value may exist, but if it is not documented, measured, packaged, shown, tested, or attached to results, then to the market it is almost the same as non-existent. This is why men with talent stay poor. Not because talent is useless, because hidden talent has no leverage. This is why men with intelligence remain invisible. Not because intelligence has no value, because intelligence without proof becomes private entertainment. This is why men who work hard stay replaceable. Not because work has no dignity, because effort that is not scarce, visible, positioned, or measured can be exploited by people who know you have no alternative. Before we go deeper, subscribe if this is the kind of truth you came here for. Not motivation, not comfort. A colder operating system for men who are done asking permission. Now listen carefully, because this is where psychology becomes practical. Albert Bandura's work on self-efficacy shows that the strongest source of belief in your own ability is not empty encouragement. It is mastery experience. Direct evidence that you can succeed at a task. In simple terms, confidence is not the cause. Proof is the cause. This destroys the weak belief that you need confidence first. No, you need evidence first. You do not become confident by imagining yourself rich. You do not become confident by repeating words in the mirror. You do not become confident because someone finally tells you they believe in you. You become confident by doing the thing you said you would do, seeing proof, stacking the proof, and letting the evidence rewrite your identity. That is why the unsupported man must stop asking, "Who believes in me?" That question keeps you emotionally dependent. Ask a harder question. What can I build this month that proves I am becoming more valuable? What skill can I acquire that the market already pays for? What result can I document? What expense can I cut? What asset can I buy? What proof can I show without explaining? The man who asks those questions is no longer begging for belief. He is building a case. And life responds differently to a man who is building a case. Because eventually your own mind starts to lose the ability to doubt you. Not because you shouted louder, but because the evidence became too heavy. At first, you complete one promise, then another, then another. You create one visible result, then another. You save one amount of money, then another. You learn one skill, then another layer of that skill. You document one project, then another. And slowly, the old identity loses its authority. The identity that needed approval becomes weaker. The identity that needed applause becomes quieter. The identity that needed everyone to understand before moving begins to look childish. This is how a man changes. Not through one emotional breakthrough, through accumulated evidence. But there is a dangerous point here, and most men miss it. Evidence alone is not enough if it is not converted. Millionaire status is not built from pain. It is not built from motivation. It is not built from being doubted. It is not built from watching videos about power and then returning to the same habits. It is built through conversion. You must convert pain into discipline. You must convert discipline into skill. You must convert skill into proof. You must convert proof into income. You must convert income into surplus. You must convert surplus into ownership. You must convert ownership into freedom. Break one link and the chain fails. You can have skill but no proof and remain invisible. You can have proof but no sales and remain respected but unpaid. You can have income but no surplus and remain a high-earning servant. You can have surplus but no assets and remain financially fragile. You can have assets but no discipline and destroy them through ego. This is why many men never become wealthy. They do not lack dreams. They lack conversion. They cannot convert what they feel into what the world can measure. They cannot convert private ambition into public evidence. They cannot convert effort into leverage. They cannot convert being underestimated into becoming undeniable. So they stay in the most dangerous identity of all: potential. Potential is a beautiful prison. People praise it because it costs them nothing. You have potential. You are smart. One day you will make it. These words feel warm, but they can sedate you. Because potential without proof keeps you emotionally alive while financially unchanged. A man can survive on potential for years. He can use it to protect his ego. He can tell himself he is not losing, he is just preparing. He can tell himself he is not behind, he is just waiting for the right moment. He can tell himself he is not scared, he is just being strategic. But one day, the mirror becomes more honest than the fantasy. One day, your age increases, your excuses repeat, and the people who doubted you start looking less cruel and more accurate. That is the future you must refuse, not with anger, with evidence. The question now is no longer whether people support you. The question is whether you can build a life so measurable that their support becomes irrelevant. And once you understand that, the game becomes colder, cleaner, and more controllable. Support is emotionally useful, but structurally optional. Proof is structurally necessary. That is the line most men never separate. They think support is the foundation. It is not. Support can make the road easier, but it is not the road. Encouragement can give warmth, but warmth does not become equity. Approval can calm your nervous system, but approval does not become income. Someone believing in you may feel good, but belief does not automatically become savings, assets, ownership, or bargaining power. If no one supports you, the game becomes simpler. You cannot rely on encouragement. You cannot rely on family money. You cannot rely on inherited connections. You cannot rely on someone discovering you. You cannot rely on being emotionally rescued when your discipline becomes uncomfortable. You must build a machine, not a fantasy, not a dramatic comeback story you replay in your head while wasting another evening. A machine. The Millionaire machine has 5 parts: skill, proof, income, surplus, ownership. Most men want ownership before they have skill. They want wealth before they have proof. They want freedom before they have surplus. They want respect before they have made themselves useful in a way the market can measure. That is why they stay angry. They are trying to collect the reward before building the mechanism. First, skill. Not a vague passion, not a soft interest, not something you like talking about. A skill tied to a painful market problem. Sales, coding, design, operations, finance, content production, copywriting, negotiation, leadership, product building, distribution. Any skill that solves a problem people already pay to remove. This matters because the market does not reward effort equally. It rewards capability based on scarcity, trust, demand, and consequence. The Bureau of Labor Statistics shows a clear relationship between higher education levels and higher earnings. But the deeper lesson is not simply to collect credentials. The deeper lesson is that stronger, scarcer, more trusted capability tends to command more money. Do not worship degrees. Do not worship certificates. Do not worship information. Ask the only question that matters. What painful problem can I solve better than the average person? Because income begins where pain meets capability. If you can remove pain, increase revenue, reduce risk, save time, create attention, improve systems, make something clearer, faster, safer, more profitable, or more desirable, you become valuable. But skill alone is not enough. A hidden skill is a private possession. A proven skill is leverage. That is the second part of the machine. Measurable proof, a portfolio, a case study, a client result, a product, a public body of work, a promotion, a track record, a before and after, a number, a testimonial, a visible pattern of execution. Proof removes the need for long explanations. Machiavelli said, "Men judge more by the eye than by the hand, because everyone can see, but few can truly touch the reality underneath." In modern terms, visible proof beats hidden value. This is why you must stop hiding behind preparation. Preparation feels safe because no one can judge the result yet. But that safety is also the prison. A man who prepares forever avoids rejection, but he also avoids evidence. He avoids embarrassment, but he also avoids proof. He avoids being measured, but he also avoids becoming undeniable. Proof is where the fantasy gets tested. Proof is where your ego stops being the judge. Proof is where the market says yes, no, not yet, improve this, change that, come back stronger. That feedback may hurt, but it is cleaner than waiting for emotional support from people who cannot evaluate your path. Third, income expansion. Once proof exists, you must use it. Negotiate, sell, freelance, build, apply, pitch, create, 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 create. Raise your price, change rooms, change markets, change offers. Do not worship loyalty to a place that benefits from your silence. Many men stay underpaid because they confuse being appreciated with being compensated. They hear kind words from people who profit from keeping them where they are. They tell themselves they are patient, but often they are afraid to test their value elsewhere. A man with proof should not remain trapped in rooms where his value has a ceiling. If your current environment cannot reward your growth, your proof must travel. This is why distribution matters. A skill hidden inside one workplace may be underpriced. The same skill shown publicly, packaged clearly, attached to results, and placed in front of the right market can become leverage. You do not need everyone to notice you. You need the right people to see the right proof at the right time. Fourth, surplus. Income means nothing if ego eats it. A man who earns more and spends more has not become powerful. He has only upgraded his cage. Surplus is the money that survives your appetite. It is the gap between what comes in and what you refuse to waste. It becomes your army. It becomes your escape route. It becomes your ability to say no. Without surplus, higher income only creates a more expensive dependency. You may wear better clothes, drive a better car, live in a better apartment, eat in better places, and still remain one crisis away from obedience. That is not wealth. That is decorated fragility. The unsupported man cannot afford decorated fragility. He needs cash discipline. He needs an emergency fund. He needs control over spending. He needs to know where his money goes. He needs to stop buying applause with freedom. Fake status spending is one of the most dangerous traps for the unsupported man, because he often wants the world to see progress before progress is structurally real. He wants the visible symbols of arrival because he is tired of being dismissed. But if you buy status before you buy freedom, you are still dependent. You have only made your dependency look expensive. Surplus is not glamorous. That is why weak men avoid it. Surplus is quiet. It does not clap. It does not impress strangers immediately. It does not give you the emotional hit of looking successful. But surplus changes how you walk through life. A man with surplus does not negotiate the same way. He does not tolerate the same disrespect. He does not panic the same way. He does not accept every bad offer. He has space, and space is power. Fifth, ownership. This is where the worker becomes dangerous. You move money into assets, businesses, equity, index funds, property, products, systems, intellectual property, anything that can grow beyond your direct hours. The SEC's Investor.gov explains compound interest as earning returns on both the original money and the returns already earned. That is the quiet weapon. Time begins working beside you instead of only against you. But compounding only rewards the man who stays in the game. No emergency fund, and one crisis can damage years of progress. High interest debt, and your future is already being taxed. Fake status spending, and you are buying applause with your freedom. This is why the unsupported man cannot afford to look rich before he becomes free. A man with support can recover from foolishness. An unsupported man must become precise. He must understand that wealth is not one dramatic leap. Wealth is retained capital placed into productive vehicles over time. Wealth is skill made valuable, proof made visible, income made larger, surplus protected, ownership acquired, and time allowed to compound the result. This is not romantic. That is why it works. The fantasy says one person will believe in you and change your life. The mechanism says your life changes when your behavior creates enough evidence, income, and ownership that belief becomes irrelevant. And now the deeper shift must happen. Stop seeing yourself as abandoned. That identity is too weak. You are not abandoned. You are unowned. If no one funded you, no one controls your direction. If no one carried you, no one can claim your rise. If no one believed you, no one gets credit when the evidence arrives. But this only becomes power if you produce. Without production, unowned becomes lonely. With production, unowned becomes sovereign. This is the shift. You are no longer a man waiting for belief. You are a man building evidence. You no longer explain your future to people who judge you from your past. You create proof that forces them to update their judgment. You no longer chase motivation. You build systems. You no longer worship pain. You convert pain. You no longer ask, "Why does no one support me?" You ask, "What proof would make support unnecessary?" That is the millionaire question. Not, "How do I get rich fast?" but this, "How do I become so skilled, so documented, so financially disciplined, and so asset-owning that my life no longer depends on approval?" The unsupported man's advantage is not that he suffers more. Many men suffer and become nothing. His advantage is that he has no illusion left. No one is coming. Good. Now every result is yours. Every skill is yours. Every hour of discipline is yours. Every asset is yours. Every hard decision is yours. Every piece of proof is yours. Every room you enter because of competence instead of pity is yours. There is a strange freedom in that. At first, no support feels like a wound. Then, if you become strategic, it becomes clarity. You stop expecting people to become different. You stop begging the past to validate the future. You stop performing pain for sympathy. You stop talking to people who are invested in the old version of you. You become quieter. Not weak quiet, dangerous quiet. The quiet of a man who knows exactly what he is building. The quiet of a man who does not need the room to understand the blueprint before the foundation is poured. The quiet of a man who has replaced announcements with receipts. But now the next question appears. What should you actually do for the next 12 months? Because if this remains philosophy, it becomes another drug. Many men love harsh truths because harsh truths make them feel awake. But feeling awake is not the same as moving. A man can listen to powerful words, feel his identity expand for a moment, then return to the same weak routine that made him need the words in the first place. Do not let this become another emotional performance. Build one proof stack. For the next year, your mission is not to become famous. It is not to impress people. It is not to win arguments with doubters. It is not to explain your ambition more clearly. Your mission is to become verifiable. Month 1 through month 3, choose one valuable skill and cut financial leakage. One skill, not 5, not a new obsession every week. 1. Choose a skill the market already pays for. Study it daily. Practice it publicly or measurably. Build small projects. Take notes. Record your progress. Do not hide in consumption. Practice must produce evidence. At the same time, track your money. Every dollar must be named. If you cannot measure your money, you cannot command it. Find the leaks, the subscriptions you forgot, the status purchases you justify, the food delivery that looks small until the month exposes it, the random spending that feels harmless because each decision is quiet. Money does not disappear. It obeys your unconscious habits until you make them visible. Month 4 through month 6, create proof. Build projects, get small clients, publish work, document results, show before and after evidence. Your goal is not to look impressive. Your goal is to become verifiable. If you are learning sales, record the outreach, the objections, the conversion rate, the lessons. If you are learning design, build a portfolio that shows the problem, the process, and the result. If you are learning coding, ship tools, fix bugs, document what the product does. If you are learning content, publish consistently and study retention, clicks, comments, and audience response. If you are learning finance, show models, case studies, analysis, and disciplined thinking. Proof does not have to be glamorous. It has to be real. Month 7 through month 9, convert proof into income. Ask for the raise. Pitch the service, improve the offer, sell the outcome, apply to better positions. Move toward markets that value what you can now prove. Stop hiding behind preparation. The market will train you faster than comfort ever will. This is the stage where many men freeze because selling exposes them. They would rather keep improving quietly than ask another human being to exchange money for their value. But if you cannot ask the market to pay, you are still emotionally dependent. You may call it humility. Often it is fear. You may call it patience. Often it is avoidance. You may call it perfecting the craft. Often it is hiding from rejection. The unsupported man cannot hide forever. He must enter the arena where proof becomes money. Month 10 through month 12, convert income into ownership. Build an emergency fund. Remove toxic debt. Invest consistently. Buy assets before status. Create one system where money or proof compounds without constant emotional effort. This is where you stop behaving like a man trying to look successful and start behaving like a man becoming difficult to control. Because the first layer of freedom is not luxury, it is optionality, the ability to say no, the ability to survive a bad month, the ability to walk away from disrespect, the ability to take a calculated risk without begging, the ability to make decisions from strategy instead of panic. At the end of 12 months, you should have one stronger skill, one visible portfolio, one income upgrade, one emergency fund, one automatic investment system, one measurable asset base, and one old identity removed from command. The identity of the man who needed to be believed before he moved. That identity must end. Because the world does not reward the man who explains. It rewards the man who proves. And this is the final Machiavellian law. Appearances matter because people judge what they can see. Results matter because they silence what people used to say. Ownership matters because it turns your labor into power. So stop asking people to believe in your future. Build the evidence, stack the proof, protect the surplus, buy the assets, become difficult to ignore. And if no one supports you, remember this: no support is not the reason you lose. Waiting for support is. The unsupported man does not need the world to clap before he moves. He needs skill, proof, surplus, ownership, and time. Stop trying to be believed by people who only understand evidence after it becomes visible. But understand the next law. Proof alone is not enough. Proof that stays hidden can still die in silence. A skilled man with no positioning can remain underpaid. A disciplined man with no distribution can remain invisible. A valuable man who cannot communicate his value can still be treated like a replaceable man. So after you build proof, you must learn how to position it. Because the market does not only reward value, it rewards visible value, trusted value, and clearly packaged value. Subscribe if you are done being potential and start building the evidence today. Do not wait for belief. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for the people who doubted the seed to celebrate the tree. Build anyway. Let the proof speak first. Let the income answer next. Let ownership make the final argument.